What's up, Porters? Today we're talking about a new game in development called Drakantos. And as you can see on the screen, it's a 2D MMORPG. Now, traditionally, I'm not a huge fan of the 2D games, but this game has so much buzz and hype behind it, I figured I owed it to myself to kind of look into it to make sure it's not something I would actually enjoy, because I don't want to miss out on a fun time just because, I'm not a huge fan of the graphical style. I've tried a handful of 2D MMOs in the past, haven't really found anything that really stood out to me. So maybe that's me kind of judging every 2D MMO based on what I've done in the past. It's just a personal preference. I'm more of a 3D guy. But that being said, this game has a lot going for it. And after I looked into it, I can see why it's got the buzz and the hype. I mean, just right off the bat, the pixel art style, it's not just 2D. It's like straight out of Super Nintendo. Like, this could have been Chrono Trigger Part 2. This could have been any number of Square Enix games from the mid-90s. So right away, anyone who was gaming back then playing RPGs, they see this, they see Legend of Dragoon or whatever game, and they're immediately brought back to their childhood, and it's got that warm nostalgia vibe. Additionally, it's a full action combat game, so there's no tab target. You're manually aiming everything, and from looking at the combat here, I'm getting the old arcade beat 'em up vibes. You and your buddies would go and you'd up a few quarters in, and you're all the Simpsons, or you're the Ninja Turtles, or you're the X-Men. Those two things together, I now understand what all the buzz and hype is about this game. Like, it's got the nostalgia, it's got just that beat 'em up, fun arcade style combat. So let's see what else the game has to offer, though. You can't see it right now, but later on in the game, you will see the UI, and there's only one hotbar, so you don't have to worry about a million different things you're trying to do on the screen. They've kind of got combat and gameplay streamlined down to one hotbar, so you don't have to worry about too many things going on. It's got full controller support in case you want to take that nostalgia trip one step further and not use a mouse and keyboard. I was reading, there's kind of they were worried that the controller wouldn't be able to compete with the mouse and keyboard, but after recent changes they've made to movement, controller is actually better with, if you have a controller with a little joystick on it. So full controller support. From what I've seen, most of the game, what you're going to be doing in the game, is probably going to be a lobby-based game. So in town, there's, I believe, an adventurers guild or something along those lines, and from there you can do matchmaking for either missions, which are their quests, or PvP. So a lot of the game is just the matchmaking. There is an open world. I didn't find a whole lot of information on what the open world entails, but you can just go out into the open world. There's probably some quests that send you out there. There's probably resources to gather in the open world, but a lot of what you're going to be doing is instanced matchmaking. Let's talk about the classes. So this game, you're not really making your own character. You're picking one of their characters. So you can see here, like Feindar, he's like a druidy guy. So you're picking one of their characters. There's 21 unique characters right now, and there's more planned for the future. So even though you're not making your own person or character or whatever, there's a pretty decent amount to choose from, 21 with more to come. They're breaking away from the traditional class system, so they want to bring new twists to co-op gameplay. I guess that means you don't necessarily have to have the Holy Trinity. You don't have to have a tank, a healer, and DPS. From what I saw, when you die in this game, I didn't see anyone die solo, but in a group, when you're doing a mission, if you die, you basically just have a timer, and then you automatically resurrect right where you are once the timer's up. I think it was like 20 or 30 seconds. So once again, very arcadey style of gameplay. In terms of customization, though, you can customize some of your skills. You can modify your abilities with orbs and artifacts, and you get upgrade points when you level up to put in those abilities. So, you'll have your 4 or 5 different abilities, and then you can essentially choose which ones are going to be stronger than others based on your allocation of upgrade points when you level up. You can switch between characters. Level and gear don't carry over between characters, but artifacts, trophies, upgrades, and cosmetics, mounts, and pets as well also do carry over. So there's a lot of account-wide progression that even if you decide you want to try a different character, you're going to keep certain things and lose certain things. It also worth mentioning is the in-game accessories are also account shared, so you don't have to refarm in-game gear for every single character. That's kind of nice. That's a nice little twist there. So essentially, you get the in-game gear, you get your artifacts and all that stuff farmed up on whichever character you want, and then when you start trying the other characters, they've got everything ready except for their experience. So you just have to level them up and then they're all set to go. Kind of a neat little feature. Actually, I wish more games would do that. It's so frustrating, especially when you're years into a game and you've got a bunch of maxed out characters and you just want to try one. You want to try something new, but you don't want to start over from nothing. So I like the account wide progressions. I wish more games would do that. Let's talk about quests though, because the game has a questing system. It boasts hundreds of missions and dynamic dungeons, and it says missions change over time with different enemies, bosses, resources, traps, and objectives. So I guess you go into a dungeon and one objective is to kill 10 trolls, and then the next time you go in it's find the artifact or whatever, and there's different bosses. So there's a lot of RNG going into these quests and missions. So even if you're doing lots of similar quests and missions, you're not doing the exact same thing every time, which is kind of nice because they say change is the spice of life. So they've got that going for them. Additionally, with the dungeons and missions, you get a score for how well you did in that dungeon, and you get better experience and rewards with the higher score you get. So that's kind of cool. I guess you can do the bare minimum, or you can go above and beyond and do every little thing possible to get that high score. From what I've seen, it looks like the party size maxes out at 3 players. So you and 2 friends, or you and 2 randoms, whatever happens, or you can just go alone, solo, whatever you want. Interesting to note though, the enemy difficulty scales based on party size. So if you can't find anyone to play with, or you just want to play by yourself, the enemies will be easier. And if you have a full party, the enemies are going to be more difficult. So that being said, when you have a full party, you probably want everyone cooperating on the same page. An interesting note about that, about being on the same page and cooperating with the party, there's no in-game chat system. So there's no global chat, there's no party chat. All there are emotes, which is kind of an interesting feature in an MMO. I know there are games that have similar things, like I haven't played them, but I think like the Dark Souls games, I don't think there was chat. I think there was just kind of emotes and stuff where you could leave the grave markers or whatever. I know a few games have gone the route of no chat, only emotes, but it'll be interesting to see how people. I mean, I guess obviously if you're playing with your friends, you just get in Discord and you guys use voice chat. But you see the emotes here on screen. It'll be interesting playing just random pickup groups, especially if you have to coordinate. But I'll be interested to see if they keep that, once the game is released and going with a healthy population. Going back to the enemies though, they have their own kind of version of elite enemies. So they're called corrupted enemies, and the corrupted enemies are granted random abilities, which adds, just another layer to that RNG. So you have corrupted enemies that are going to make the quests and missions different each time you run them. I mentioned earlier there's a PvP that you can queue up for from the, I believe, Adventures Guild. So I didn't find a whole lot of info on the PvP, but it looks like it's pretty much all instanced. It's all battleground PvP. There's multiple game modes. There's rankings. There's tournaments. And the stats will be evened out to ensure that skill and strategy win, and not just whoever's grinded the best stuff. So that's a cool feature. I like when they even out PvP so that it's just all skill. Not a fan of going into PvP, especially battlegrounds where you're a new player, you queue up for the battleground, and then you're playing someone who has just all the best stuff, and you're level 1, and it's just. Well, we'll see how it goes in this. And the one thing that's not instanced PvP is that there will be PvP duels. So you can challenge someone to a duel in the open world. But I don't think there's just no one's going to be griefing you in the open world or in quests or whatever. It's pretty much instanced PvP for this one. A lot of miscellaneous information that I found that didn't really fit into any of the other categories I've talked about. We went over the no in-game chat, only emotes. But I believe you will be able to unlock additional emotes for your characters. So there will be quests and things you can do, or objectives, or just completions of things that will unlock additional emotes. Maybe they'll also be for sale in the shop, because it's a free to play game. So obviously there's going to be a cash shop. They got to make money somehow. I imagine they'll be selling those. Speaking of unlockables, there are unlockable titles and skins to personalize your hero. So even though everyone has to pick the exact same blonde guy on the screen here or a redheaded girl, you will eventually be able to unlock skins that make you look different. So everyone's going to look the same at the beginning. Once they've gotten into the game and unlocked stuff, they'll start to, individualize how they look and their appearance and stuff. In addition to that, there are dozens of pets, and these pets can discover items for you while they're out. So that's kind of a cool little feature. They're finding stuff for you that you may have missed while you're just paying attention to killing monsters. There's a taming system where you can, just tame. I don't know if it's only animals. It's probably only animals. And it didn't go into information about whether or not you're taming them to be an ally or just a pet. But there is some kind of taming system in the game. There are mounts and a mount system. There's mining and lumberjacking. One thing that's pretty cool about this is it has a lock picking mini game. So you find a locked chest, you go click on it, and it opens up a mini game, kind of like the Elder Scrolls games. You gotta wiggle around to lock pick and twist things at the right angle, and it's kind of a cool little feature. I haven't seen that in an MMO before. Although, as I'm saying that now, I wouldn't be surprised if that exact feature was in the Elder Scrolls Online. I just haven't really played that game. But lock picking mini game in an MMO, it's a cool thing. There's housing that you'll get to get your own player housing and decorate it the way you want. There's crafting. I wasn't able to find any information on the crafting, so maybe it hasn't been implemented yet, but there will be crafting at some point. There's fishing and specific rewards for completing fishing tasks. So I know it's kind of a meme at this point, but apparently a lot of people are super into fishing in MMOs. So this game's got fishing. And for the people who might ask in the comments, yes, the rocks are clickable in this game. There's going to be a guild system at some point. There's a market, so you can trade your items and collectibles with other players, make money, all that stuff. There'll be global events with mini games and other fun events. There's a day and night cycle. There's a card collecting system where essentially you find these cards, and once you get a complete set of the cards, you get exclusive rewards for those. And those rewards can be titles, pets, cosmetics, and more. So, and the video I saw about it, essentially like you're walking around town and just laying on a table somewhere and playing cards. So you got to have your eagle eyes ready to find all these cards everywhere. But there's nice rewards when you do. And if you guys have noticed the way people are moving around on screen right now, it looks very rigid. It looks like people are kind of walking around a chessboard. That's because in the older versions of the game, which is where all the footage comes from, it was essentially a chessboard. If you ever played Shining Force, it's a complete grid-based system where you can only go up, down, left, or right. That's essentially what it was before, but they've overhauled that, so that's gone. Now you have they basically made the squares way, 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 way smaller, so that it's essentially a 360 degrees of freedom now. And they did the same thing with AoE attacks. So those have all been overhauled to give much better approximations of what they should be and give the players much better control of their character. So if you're looking at the game and you think it looks too rigid, too on rails in terms of movement, don't worry about that. That's not an issue anymore. They've fixed it. But that's pretty much it. That's everything I could find on the game. There was a playtest last summer. Unfortunately, I missed it. Hopefully, they'll have another playtest sometime soon. I believe this game's supposed to come out this year. Don't quote me on that. Just cross your fingers. Aside from that, if you liked the video, drop a like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Trying to grow the channel. Every like and subscribe helps. If you guys like finding out about new and upcoming games, make sure you're here to not miss anything. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye.